final speaker for this evening, and that's Sharon Stanton, and she's going to be telling us about dragonflies in the Western Cape. Sharon tells me that she was born in my hometown. I'm presuming, Sharon, you mean the place where I'm living at the moment, in Bloemfontein. But she practices as an attorney in Cape Town. But wonderfully, she spends as much time as she can out in nature. And we're very pleased about that, Sharon. It was in the 1980s that Sharon fell in love with dragonflies while doing a final year research project at the University of Cape Town on the flight muscles of dragonflies. I think that would be fascinating to hear a little bit about that sometime, Sharon. And Sharon has been known to chase dragonflies across the country at very short notice, particularly to join some of the wonderful expeditions, Odonata expeditions that some of our Odo fanatics have been on in recent years. She's a very important cog in the whole Odonata map, the virtual museum project for Odonata, being one of the members of the expert panel. And she's identified more than 36,000 dragonfly records. Sharon, thank you very much for your commitment and your dedication, your passion, and thanks for getting things done very, very quickly. I know sometimes I submit records and late at night, and within minutes they've been identified. So thanks so much. We are very pleased, as I said, that you fell in love with dragonflies and that you're so passionate about them. And we really look forward to hearing what you have to tell us this evening. Over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to be speaking on the dragonflies and damselflies of the Western Cape. And I'm going to be focusing on the endemics. And on this first page, we have the rock malachite, a male rock malachite, and this is my favorite Western Cape endemic. So I'm briefly just going to give a backdrop to the Western Cape so that you can understand why there is such high endemism in the region. We're the fourth largest province in South Africa and bordered by the cold Atlantic Ocean on the west and the warm Indian Ocean on the east. A very dominating series of mountains in the province. On the north-south axis, we have the Cederberg, the Grootwinterhoek, and the Matroosberg, and then running west-east, we have the Riffies on the End Mountains, the Langeberg and the Outeniqua, and inland there's the Swartberg, and then down here we have the Boerland complex, which includes the Houakost Mountains, the Jonkershoek, Hottentots Holland, and Kogelberg. Then we have an escarpment which separates the high inland plateau from these low coastal areas. And the Western Cape has 6 of the 7 biomes that are found in South Africa. Fynbos here in blue is the dominant biome, which covers about 79% of the province. We also have here an orange succulent karoo, where there is some winter rainfall in those areas. And in the central plateau, we have Nama Karoo, which is semi-desert and gets a little bit of summer rainfall. We also have 2 sort of pockets of Albany thicket. And then we have here in the eastern part or southeastern part, we have forests. And we also have a little bit of grassland up in the central Karoo. So what this means is that, this diversity provides a diversity of habitats because of the variable altitudes, rainfall, vegetation, temperature, etc. And similarly, the aquatic ecosystems in the Western Cape are also very diverse. They are very variable in physical and chemical conditions. They're often seasonal, temporary. They're also isolated, many of them from each other and from those in the interior or those in the other provinces. And what this means is it poses strong pressure on the inhabitants of these aquatic ecosystems. So this diversity, combined with a long history of geological stability in the Western Cape and few massive extinctions, has contributed to very high levels of endemic plants and animals in the region. And it's the same with the odonates. There are many endemics. So some of the Western Cape endemic odonates, such as the malachites and the presbyrs, they're very ancient relic species, and there's suggestions that their ancestral lineages are 30 to 80 million years old. So I'm just going to look here at the number of species, just to put into context the species we have. In the world, we have approximately 6,307 species, of which 770 are found in Africa. South Africa has 164 species, which is quite low. The Western Cape has just under half of these species are found here in the Western Cape. There are 31 South African endemics. That's the highest in Africa. And 23 of these 31 endemics are found in the Western Cape. 6 of these 31 are only found in the Western Cape, and a further 8 of these 31 are largely in the Western Cape and then only marginally found into the Eastern Cape. So these are the endemic dragonfly species that are found in the Western Cape. The first 3 are only found in the Western Cape: the elusive skimmer, the rustic presbyr, and the gilded presbyr. And on the right, you'll see the red list status and the dragonfly biotic index score. And you'll see these are endangered and vulnerable species. And this very high DBI score shows that they're highly sensitive, threatened, and not widely distributed. These next 3 are largely in the Western Cape and just into the Eastern Cape: the mahogany presbyr, the Cape thorntail, and the Cape skimmer. And you'll see these 2 are vulnerable and also near threatened species. And then we also have the yellow presbyr, which there is a historical record in Natal, and then there's one locality in the Eastern Cape, but again, it's largely only found in the Western Cape. This list of 16 are the endemic damselflies, South African endemic damselflies, which are found in the Western Cape. And these first 3 in blue are Western Cape endemics: the mauve bluette, the spesbona, and the rock malachite. And again, you'll see that these are endangered and near threatened species. And these next 5, again, are found largely in the Western Cape and just marginally into the Eastern Cape: the cream malachite, palmate sprite, conspicuous malachite, white malachite, and the sooty threadtail. And these are other South African endemics found here, but they are found in the rest of the country, or parts of the rest of the country. So what I meant, so as I say, there's in the Western Cape is home to a number of these localized, specialist, and highly threatened species. There tend to be 2 groups. We tend to get those that are found early in the season, and then those that are found late in the season. And there are some species which have 2 seasons. So this is the Kogelberg biosphere, and a group of us are out in the fynbos looking for the gilded presbyr. This is one of the ancient relic species. It's a very early, it flies early in the season. And I've also got down here shows the distribution. So it was only discovered in 2006, while the red list species were being assessed. They found the gilded presbyr, and they went into the field and found more of them. So they like these swift mountain streams lined with fynbos. So they'll fly up and down the streams and then up over the fynbos. Here's some pictures of them. And you can see where they get their name gilded from, having this golden yellow color. Their sexes are quite similar, and they characteristically have this chocolate colored sort of thorax with no thoracic stripes, and they have these white marks between the wings. They also, these these grey-blue eyes are also characteristic of all presbers, have these grey-blue eyes. The next one is the mahogany presber. This is also a vulnerable species. It's fairly widespread but sparse where it is found. It's a summer species. This is in Jonkershoek Nature Reserve. And this is in the Franschhoek Mountains. So they like these fast-flowing mountain streams with large boulders and bordered by bushes. Here you can see one of the mahogany presbers hanging in the tree. And here's a close-up of it. Again, you can see the blue-gray eyes. And here it has the mahogany color in it. It's got quite a narrow abdomen, which spreads out at the back. And it also has these characteristic markings, these cream and black crescent markings down the abdomen. Okay, the next one is the elusive skimmer. This is one of the endangered species. It's quite rare. It's found mainly in December. This is up in the Holocaust Mountains near Villiersdorp. So they're high altitude species. They're found above 1,100 meters. And they like these high mountain wetlands with these bogs that run often parallel to where a stream may come down. Here we have some photographs of the elusive skimmer. The immature males and the females have this characteristic maroon color with these thick white thoracic stripes, which are bordered only on the top with black. And that's how they're distinguished from the two-striped skimmer and from the Cape skimmer. The male prenescence is only on the abdomen. You'll notice it doesn't go onto the thorax, which is different from the other skimmers. Yeah, so that's a very special species, as I say. The next one I'm showing you is the Cape thorntail. This gomphid is fairly widespread. But its status is near threatened. It likes these shallow streams, and what it does, it perches on these rocks or on the vegetation on the side. This is taken at Vogelgat Nature Reserve near Hermanus. What else? I'm going to show you to you. So the Cape thorntail is a larger, darker version of the common thorntail, which some of you may be familiar with, which is in this bottom right-hand side. And how it differs, it has this much more extensive black on the thorax and the abdomen, and it also has this thorn projection, which is dark, and the foliation has this thick dark border, whereas the common thorntail has a much thinner border. And there's a photograph of the female there, which I've only seen once. It's very, very rarely seen. Okay, the next species is a damselfly, the Spes bona. This is a very rare species and only seen in a few found in only a few isolated places. This is Tierwater's Kloof, where it was originally rediscovered. And then in 2017, one of the Jean Herons, one of the citizen scientists up in the Knysna Sedgefield area, found them. And then in 2018, Chris Hines found them on a private nature reserve in Riversdale, which shows you just how citizen scientists have filled in these gaps where everyone thought it was only found down in outside Franschhoek. This is the site in where Jean found it in the Karatara River. So they basically, it's in these fringed pools, and often there's a lot of waterweed as well. They're very early summer species. And here we have a picture of them. They're known as the chameleon species of dragonflies. They have a unique ability to rapidly reverse and change their color. So often when in cold temperatures, the males are quite dark, and then as temperatures rise, parts of the head and thorax and the back of the abdomen will turn from to an azure color and going into like a purple color. And the females tend to be much more dull, but they also, parts of them, as you can see in the mating pair, also goes up with the as the temperatures increase. And then found in the similar environments to the Spesbona, we have the mauve bluette, another endangered damselfly. It's also very rare and localized. It's a very small species, and here you can see they like these drying pools with abundant sort of floating plants and lined with bushes. And they only found around November to December. So here are some photographs of them, and they have a very distinctive mauve color. Their postocular spots, the thorax, the back of the abdomen, and even their PTs are this mauve color. Next, this is the rock malachite that was on the first page of my talk. They're also a near-threatened species. This is up in Baines Kloof. This is Jonkershoek Nature Reserve. So they like these clear mountain streams with abundance of these large lichen-covered rocks. They have very cryptic coloration. So this is typical of them to be spread out against the rock. And they occasionally also fold their wings and will be found on branches. And when it's very hot, they'll actually close their wings and they'll creep into these little crevices. So here we have a male and a female. They're very similar, as you can see, colored. Yeah, they sort of look like they're in camo gear. And they fly from January to April. Okay, next is the queen malachite, also a near-threatened species. This is the Harkaville forest. They live in the indigenous forests, mostly up along the garden route, but also around Swellendam. So here we have a Jubilee Creek outside Renendal. So you can see they like these fern-fringed streams deep in the shades of the forest. And here's a male and a female. They've got these long, slender bodies, and they have a blue mark between the wings and also at the neck. And their pterostigmas are uniform, short, reddish color. And they've also got a unique wing venation, which is common to the Echlorolestes species. All right, next is another malachite, the white malachite. This it's found quite extensively in the Western Cape. This is again the Palmet River. We started off looking for the gilded presbyter, and here we have this is Marlet Nature Reserve in Swellendam. So they like these streams, these overhanging bushes, and you'll find them. They'll hang from all the plants over the water, and they're found from November to May. So here we have a male and a female, and yeah, they get their name from the prenocity which the male has. So there's still a little bit blue, but this will all be white, and often have these banded white wings. And yeah, here we have two males. The top, and you'll see the one is banded and the other is not banded, but they're both males. The next species is the a palmette sprite. This is not not threatened. It's quite common. This is Tweedetol in Baines Kloof. This is Vogelgat Nature Reserve near Hermanus. So they usually quite they usually don't move around a lot, and you'll find them on the edges of these well vegetated streams. This is again palmette. So they for those who know the powder face sprite, it's very similar to that. They, however, have a little blue line joining the pterostigmas in the male. They've got this green labrum, unlike the powder face, which is black. And the females are very colorful. At the top here, you'll get them in green, blue, and this kind of rusty orange color. Okay, the last species I'm going to be showing you tonight is the sooty threadtail. They're again mostly confined to the Western Cape and are quite common. They're found on the rocks and vegetation next to this sort of slope parts of the river. And here's a lot, yeah, so there's the males on this side and females on this side. This is a young male. So they have this sooty color across most of the body with just this little bit of blue at the end. And the females, yeah, they also vary quite a lot in color. So, but here you'll see that this is typical of them, this brown color. Oops. And yeah, so that's a group of us at Kogelberg, citizen scientists who go out every year together, and you can see the joy on our faces at being out in nature chasing dragonflies. That's it. That's it for tonight.
Fantastic, Sharon. Thank you. Thanks so much. And what a lovely picture to finish off on. And you've mentioned the role that citizen scientists are playing in improving our knowledge of dragonfly distribution. And I mean, I think this is a very heartwarming story. I think you know, Odonata Map is one of our flagship projects as far as this is concerned. And I must say, for those of us in parts of the country with, you know, fairly poor diversity of Odonata, I'm already thinking I must contact you and other folk down your way and say, listen, let's you know, let's put something together so we can come and join you and you can show us some of these specials. Fascinating. Thank you very much for sharing some wonderful photographs of both the habitats and the localities, and and particularly those very, very special Western Cape endemics and near endemics. I'm not sure if there are any questions, just lots of comments from people complimenting you on the photographs and thanking you for sharing your experiences and these beautiful places and insects.
Okay.
Does anybody? I don't see any specific questions, but Sharon, thank you.
Okay.
When would be? I mean, you've mentioned some of the dates, and you mentioned early season, late season. When would be the best time to you know, for people to come down to the Western Cape to you know, to be able to try and get you know, fair numbers of these endemics?
Yeah, it's very difficult. As I said, they're found throughout different times of the year, but it depends. If you want to come look for the precipice, in probably in around November is when you'll find some of them. But then again, one of them is only found in late February. So I think you've got to know what you're coming to look for. But generally, November or February are very busy seasons for dragonflies in the Western Cape. Yeah.
And then be lots of others around as well.
Yeah, so at Kogelberg, on a good day, we'll see about 23 species.
Wow, that's fantastic. Really is. Wow. Yeah. Okay, folks. Well, those of you like me who are keen to see some of these specials, those of you in South Africa, you need to make a plan. Sharon, thanks so much for sharing that. And yeah, viva citizen science, viva. You know, this is a wonderful, wonderful contributions that are being made by people like yourself and other members of the Odo groups down in the Western Cape and other parts of the country.